All right, so I'm down here just outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I'm taking a look at a mine called the Pequea Mine that has a legend dating back to the early 1700s, during the time of William Penn down here in Pennsylvania. Story associated with this mine that basically states that the Indians were being pressed into service to work the mine. And word got back to William Penn about this, and he had his secretary investigate the working of this mine to find out if he was owed any royalties from the mine, if they were actually, producing any saleable lead or silver from the mine. And there's really nothing that states what they found. So that's the last we hear of the mine until the mid-1800s. And there was a drift being driven by the miners here, and they intersected an much older drift that actually still had some tins of black powder and a mud spoon. So it's described as having English tins of powder and a tool for scraping out the shavings from drilling the rock. So I don't know exactly when that would have dated to, if it was worked after the time of William Penn, or if these were very early workings that were lost and then rediscovered in the 1850s. So those are really the only two clues that tell us that this was a colonial era mine, but it's still worth checking out. So I'm gonna come down here and take a look at what's left of the workings to this old silver mine. All right, so we have a tunnel here behind me that appears to follow this quartz vein straight through. So let's go through this and see where it goes. I can see daylight on the other side. I see drill marks in the quartz vein. So we're just going through. Okay, it comes up to the surface here, and it looks like it goes down here. So I'm actually going to get my headlamp on, and I'm going to LiDAR scan this mine just so I can get a better idea for the layout. It doesn't look like it goes very far, but we do know that this mine is very extensive. So maybe it did connect at a lower point, which is now blocked. But I'm gonna do a scan here and we'll see how it looks. All right, so the scan came out pretty good, and we can see that it's kind of dipping down at an angle, and it probably intersects the main workings of the mine, but is now plugged. And just over here, we have a couple more entrances. You can see that goes down. There isn't good airflow, so I'm gonna hop in that and take a look, and I'll do a LiDAR scan of that section to see how that one looks. So I processed the scan, and we now know that this section dips down about 20 feet from the surface. And one thing that was interesting that I noticed in there was a cinder block wall that doesn't appear to lead anywhere to the outside. And it's also not at the right elevation to come out on the outside, because there's a hill just past there. So that probably continues on into the main workings of the mine, which we know are fairly substantial in terms of a mid-1800s lead mining operation. Okay, so I'm coming down the hill here from the upper workings, and I'm going to take a look at the adit to the mine, the main entrance where the silver was removed. And this entrance may date back to the Civil War, and it may even be the entrance that was talked about intersecting much older workings. Maybe the workings at the top of the hill had filled in and were lost, and then this intersected them, and that's when the artifacts were found. I don't know, but this is certainly an impressive opening. Look at this. Wow, it's as far as an attic goes, it's a really imposing entrance. So this is a pretty interesting site. There's no firm evidence that it was worked for silver during colonial times, but there's quite a few stories that would lead me to believe that this was probably a site that was being worked by the Native Americans early on, possibly for pigments. There is a story that says that the Native Americans were able to smelt the lead into smoking pipes, but I don't know if that's, I don't think they had the technology to do that, and I don't think there's any native, any malleable lead found here that could be used for such a process. So that may not be accurate, and I know that there was some sort of study done in the 1920s where some lead smoking pipes were found in Native American graves nearby, and they analyzed the lead, and they said that it had the same exact amount of content of silver as the ore from this mine has. But if you think about it, all of the lead that was really being sold in the colonies in the 1600s had some amount of silver in it, because the English didn't really have the technology to remove that silver. And we even know that the Dutch were buying lead from the English just to refine it, to remove the silver content. So the Dutch had a much more advanced metallurgical knowledge that allowed them to remove silver from the lead that the English couldn't extract. So again, it's an interesting story, but I don't think there's really any truth to that.